Listen Up, presented by Dempsey's in Sportsland, alongside Ryan Renner is filled with Sarah. Ryan, as we promised, we're back on this Monday, May the 2nd. We did finally change the calendars to May. So UConn basketball, women's basketball, that much closer to returning. Ryan, anything exciting going on your end of the world as we turn the calendar to May?
I got a vacation coming up, going to Florida, but yeah, I mean, I don't know where April went. It just seemed like we were in April, and now all of a sudden we flipped the calendars to May. So it's going by pretty quick. Time always flies by.
Well, I feel like that's a good thing for Huskies fans because I feel like maybe you feel differently, but I wouldn't expect you to feel anything rather than what I'm feeling as far as basketball talk. And I'm sure you would agree with this. Huskies fans, Ryan, I'm sure they can't wait until, and again, we'll have it all for you right here on Listen Up as the schedule gets released. We can't ready to go over the new schedule to give our predictions, but Ryan, I feel like not only can Husky fans wait for the basketball season to return, but they want a little bit of payback action, especially against South Carolina. I wonder if they'll get that matchup again on the schedule. In my
Yeah,
opinion, I think they will.
yeah, I hope we see it. That would definitely be probably one of the games of the year.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
just like South Carolina wanted their revenge last season, or from 2 seasons ago, and then they got it last season in that
Yeah.
championship game. But yeah, I mean, it would be sweet for UConn to play South Carolina, because South Carolina beat them twice last season, and especially in that championship game. So it'd be good to get a rematch.
All right. With that said, Ryan, so in this series, guys, we're going to break down the top 5 moments of the 2021-22 season, UConn Huskies women's basketball season. Ryan, we're going to start out number 5. Each video will take you down all the way to what we have as number 1. I'm sure a lot of fans can predict now what we put as number 1. We won't tell anybody, Ryan. We'll keep it as a secret, and we'll wait until whenever that 5th video drops in this series. With that said, we'll have a couple interviews here and there between these videos. But yes, Ryan, it'll all take us down to our number 1 top moment of 21 to 22 of the season. But Ryan, I'll hand it over to you. Number 5. This is the number 5 best moment of the year. And Ryan, it will take it over right there.
Yeah, number 5, I got Olivia Nelson-Ododa getting her 8 blocks, a career high 8 blocks
I like
in
that pick
28
too.
minutes against Xavier. January 15th, a blowout win, 78-41. She also had 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in that game. And I mean, she was one of the defensive leaders all season long for UConn, along with Olivia Nelson-Ododa and Nika Mule. 2 of the more lockdown defenders, I'd say, for the Huskies this season. But now, of course, Nelson-Ododa gets drafted by the LA Sparks. So taking her talents to LA this season, of course, we wish her the best in LA. But it's pretty incredible to get 8 blocks in one game at any level. You don't see somebody getting 8 blocks in one game at any level. So it's pretty incredible for Olivia Nelson-Ododa to get that in women's college basketball.
Yeah, I like that game that you pointed out. So yeah, so UConn, the final score 7. I don't know if you just said it or not. I was listening to you. I promise. Don't get mad at me. This is just a little bit of chill time. I know that we've done like recaps and everything. So now we finally get to chill a little bit, talk about what we actually want to talk about. As far as just laid back, right? Laid back opinions. No real game action on the
That's right.
court.
Yeah.
I know it's your palms. You admitted to me, you're like, Phil, man, my palms are just sweating away coming on these game recaps. I mean, it's so much to cover in so little time, but now it's kind of like a little bit of chill downtime. Ryan, so the final score in that game that took place January 15th, right, of this year, and it was 78-41 UConn over Xavier. The notable players I had down here: Ducharme, Williams, Ododa. Obviously, focus on Ododa as the top, the 5th best moment of the year. And then Nika Mule. How about Nika Mule, though? I mean, we saw Nika Mule really flash in that specific game, and then all season when she had the end-to-end plays. And I think, I don't know, man. The takeaways I had from this top moment, the 5th top moment, not only Ododa with her flashing 8 blocks that she had, but how about the flashy plays? I've looked at a lot of other basketball teams. I don't think anybody does it better, Ryan. And what I'm talking about, as they come up with the steals, the turnovers, it's like not only do they do well on the transferring the ball back and forth to each other before they lay it up to make their shot, but Ryan, how about these Huskies taking it to the basket by themselves? I mean, it's like you could have the whole team ahead of them on the other side of the court. Once they get that steal, it's all it's like a NASCAR straight down the track
they're
they
gone.
go. Yep, going. So
Yeah, and
that's how I was going to tell you. I mean, I don't think no team does it better, man, as far as stealing the ball and layups. And I think they can even do better than that when the 22-23 season rolls around.
yeah, when we talked about that a lot this past season about the pace in which UConn plays at, I'd say they're the fastest team in women's college basketball, and that has to do with a lot because of this coaching staff and Gino. Keep bringing that up. We got to talk about the coaching staff at some point during the off season. But I think that it just goes to show how hard they practice. They play as hard as they practice during the whole season. So Gino knows what he's doing in these practices, getting these girls ready for all these games, making sure they have the stamina to make it through. Especially when UConn only had about 6 players at a couple of those games at points in the season, only playing with 2 subs on the bench, 1 or 2 subs on the bench. But yeah, I mean, just the pace they play at the whole entire game, their full court press is sometimes the half court press. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, once they get the steal, create those turnovers, really leads to their offense, and most teams just can't keep up with them.
That's it. So number 5, again, Olivia Nelson-Odota's 8 blocks versus the big win against Xavier back on January 15th. 78-41 final over UConn, or over Xavier rather, excuse me. And that goes as the 5th best moment of the season, of this past season, UConn women's basketball, as far as their season 21-22. So with that said, Ryan, we will go over some comments on that last video of UConn women's basketball. And that last one was all the way back on April 27th. UConn Huskies 2022 recruit Ayanna Patterson. With that said, we'll go over the first one, and I'll go ahead and go with captain. Thanks for coming through, Captain. Ryan, he goes, according to Gino, Caroline wasn't the same player that scored over 20 points after she sat out some games with her head injury. I like Caroline, and I hope she is in the starting lineup next year. UConn can always score, and their defense is adequate against the Big East teams. However, their vulnerability is it's the rebounding and hustling against the tough teams. AP and Brady need to bring rebounding first and foremost. There are reasons why DeBerry and Gabriel did not play much last year. Gino sees them enough in the practice, and they don't have Gino's trust.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Caroline Ducharme underwent hip surgery the other day, successful hip surgery as well. I saw that. So I think she's going to be ready for the regular season, but we'll just have to keep that in mind as we're going forward. Of course, Aubrey Griffin and her back surgery as well. So Ducharme and Griffin coming off the surgeries, we'll have to see how they do through these summer workouts and see how they do towards the regular season. Of course, Dorka, her wrist surgery as well. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, rebounding is also a really important part of the game, especially for UConn. Offensive rebounds as well. We talk about teams when they get offensive rebounds, second chance points. When you give UConn second, third, maybe even sometimes 4 chances, they're eventually going to score. They have enough talent that they're eventually going to score when you give enough chances. But so that's something that's really important in terms of how their offense works. It's the flashy plays that Gino draws up. They sometimes work the offense almost to perfection. But I think with AP and Ice Brady, like you mentioned, I think that's going to be something that's really important. And when we went over them, they're pretty good rebounders as well. So hopefully they can show Gino that they're really good rebounders and passers, and they get more minutes for this upcoming season.
Tommy Reed, Thanks for coming through, Tommy. He goes, why do you put so much importance on who starts? It's always been about who finishes.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, yeah, well, I mean, he's right. It's definitely about about when it comes about any sport, who finishes. With that said, though, I don't want to give just a false percentage. But how many times have we seen the starters end up finishing in close ball games without without them getting in foul trouble? So he says, why do you put so much importance on who starts? Well, yeah, I mean, you could focus on, I mean, obviously bench players, very important too. But at the end of the day, just like the game against North Carolina State, it was Paige Beckers, a starter. Now I don't know. Did she actually start against the game against North Carolina State?
I want to say that she did. Yeah, I'm almost sure that she did start in that
I
game.
would have to go back and look. But yeah, at any rate, I mean, you can say what you think about his comment, but I just, hey, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it could be a bench player that comes up and plays hero at the end of the ball game, but I want to say 80-90% of the time it's one of your starters that's closing out a close ball game.
Yeah, Paige Beckers in that game against NC State played 45 minutes and did start the game. Led the Huskies with 27. But I mean, I just think during the all season, it's important to talk about the starting lineup, especially when UConn is going to have a lot of depth going into this season with Ice Brady, AP,
Mm-hmm.
the new transfer in Lou. And then of course the 8 returning players, I believe. So that there's so many players. There's a couple new faces coming to the team. Of course, Aubrey Griffin coming off the surgery, Amari DeBerry. We're not sure if she's going to get more playing time or not. So there's a lot of depth this season. So just trying to figure out the starting lineup, taking a couple guesses at it. It's a really, really fun debate to see, who's going to get that starting lineup. But yeah, I mean, the bench players are really important too. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's all about who finishes the game and comes up in the clutch. And most of the time, and especially during that March Madness tournament this past season, most of the time it was Paige Beckers.
Okay. Are you able to still hear me on your end, Ryan?
Yeah, I can still hear.
Okay, just checking in, making sure. I was getting a little bit of poor connection on my end. How about Iva? We thank her. Just stop me at any time, Ryan. If you can't hear me at all, just stop me anytime and give me a heads up. We appreciate her coming through again. She goes, I like this roster. No matter what is the starting lineup, Gino and his coaches know how to put up a team. Amen to that one, man. Because we was criticized about how many players we got right, how many players we got wrong from predicting the starting lineup. I mean, she's right on that. I mean, Gino and his coaches know how to put up a team. Keep that in mind. With all injuries, she goes, with all injuries this season, they still managed to play in the final game. Regarding Rivers from South Carolina, I don't think she would be a good fit for UConn. She wanted more playing time as a freshman. Gino did say a lot of times freshmen are players who know nothing and get blamed for everything. He said because of all injuries, Ducharme and Fudd did get a lot of playing time. But if the team was healthy, it probably wouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, and I think that really did help Ducharme and Fudd when they did get all that playing time when Beckers was out and Williams was injured a little bit, and of course all the players underwent injuries except Westbrook and Aaliyah Edwards, who played all the games. But yeah, I mean, I think that helped them tremendously in their freshman year in terms of Ducharme and Fudd playing all that time, and that's why I think this season they both have a really good chance of starting. To be in that starting lineup as sophomores because they really did play incredible basketball during that time through the season when UConn did have all those injuries. But yeah, I mean, Fudd, her free throw shooting was great. I saw a comment that said she had a 91% free throw percentage, I believe. Her 3-point shooting is incredible. And Ducharme as well. She can shoot the three. Good defensive players too. So I mean, it's going to be exciting. They have a lot of depth this season, a lot of new faces, a lot of returning players. So it's going to be fun.
This was, I mean, there were so many good comments on the last video. It's hard to
Yeah.
to cover them all. How about Gary Roundtree again? He goes, being real, okay? Gino needs to go outside the country, Ryan, or anywhere to find another center, a must, or don't be NCAA champions. Whoa.
Yeah, well, I know Aaliyah Edwards is from Canada, and I believe she's from France. She was born in France, and of course played for that college in Connecticut. But yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot. How a lot of these players now that play in college and some in the NBA and WNBA that are from foreign countries and outside the U.S. So it's always fun to see these new transfer players, especially when they come from different countries.
Yeah.
So it's definitely great to get transfers that were playing on different teams or were born from different countries.
And then let's go with, how about Michael Lawson? Thank you, Michael Lawson. He goes, the last time UConn won a championship, the team had a walk-on. Maybe UConn should recruit a walk-on, someone that's smart with high GPA.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the answer. I mean, UConn's, I think they're in a 5-year drought now, since they won the championship. But I think a lot of the pressure is on Paige Beckers. I know everybody has a lot of expectations for her, the AP top freshman of the year, top player of the year, and then of course she missed 19 games last season. But I think that there's a lot of pressure on that team last season. The 3 seniors. A lot of talented teams throughout these past couple seasons that the fans, thought they should have won at least one national championship, especially when Paige Beckers came in as a freshman. But yeah, I mean, it is disappointing. It's been a disappointing past couple of years, but hopefully this year will be the year.
And how about Grober? What's up, buddy? Thanks again for coming through on this podcast. Ryan, he goes, note, Caroline Ducharme had hip surgery the other day from an injury from high school that was never fully taken care of. I'm really glad that he told us about that. Again, we get Ryan's take. It's specifically important, Ryan, to look at these kind of things, because I feel like that, especially with these top players, not only on this team, but in the league, in this college league, when you have off-season surgery, Ryan, I mean, most of the time I like to think positive, and most of the time your top players come back even healthier, than they was before the surgery or before they got injured. But with that said, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, Ryan, especially with the big names. Because it can get really ugly very quickly, or you can get even better quality playing time out of your top big names. And hey, we might be champions after all. Maybe it takes a couple surgeries to reach the mountaintop. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because like I mentioned, we got Ducharme coming off the hip surgery, Dorka coming off of wrist surgery, and Aubrey Griffin coming off of back surgery. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do during the off season, recovering from those injuries and surgeries. I mean, I would expect Beckers to be fully healthy. We're not really sure last season if she ever got to that 100% fully healthy, because I think in that game against Stanford, she came off limping in the fourth quarter, and then came back into that game with about 3 minutes left, if I remember correctly. So but I mean, hopefully for this upcoming season, we can kind of get through the season without any major injuries for this UConn Huskies team. That'd definitely be good to see them get through the whole season without any major surgeries or injuries that happen.
Yeah. Shout out. How about the last one? And then we'll leave it at this. How about two more, Ryan, and then we'll go ahead and head out. Jason D'Amico, hopefully I'm saying that name right. Thank you, Jason, for commenting. He actually left a longer comment, so we'll just only get to part of it, Ryan. But yes, you're right. So he did clarify for us. He said, let me clarify for you. Paige was absolutely not 100%. Well, I was leaning toward that. I wanted to get some other opinions, but we was actually kind of lit, because obviously when she first got back right out of the gate after she was out for several weeks in a row, or what was it, months, you and I talked about how we saw her limping, and I was probably one of the first to point that out to you. on the highlight reel. So yeah, Ryan, I told you this all season, very, very important as far as her college career, and then how it could affect her future at his Paige Becker. So this all season, very important. Jason goes, gentlemen, been watching for a few weeks on YouTube. Nice work. Couple of thoughts. Who the starting lineups are is irrelevant. The weakness for UConn is the tourney was all fundamentals, mindless turnovers, and missing easy layups and putbacks killed them. It was a lack of basic discipline that was desperately needed to complement a weakened Page. That is a fault of coaching. Oh my, the talent was there. The coaching was not. I saw a lot of Gino's ego in that failure. He goes again, and then he goes to right on more. And then he goes again. Good show. I will be following you more. Peace.
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement. That'll definitely get some fans fired up about that one. But I mean, I would kind of agree with that because I talked about it all last season long when we recapped all these games about UConn missing easy shots and open layups. Nothing really comes easy. UConn makes it seem like it most of the time. Nothing's really easy, but they got a lot of open shots, especially these layups. And they just didn't make them. I mean, it was as simple as that, off of the turnovers. And it's something we're not really accustomed to see with the UConn Huskies team. But yeah, I mean, Gino, I think he's a great coach. But I mean, did his ego get in the way? I'm not really sure. I didn't really see it, but I mean, maybe it did. We never know. We obviously know the talent's there for sure. It always is there with the UConn Huskies with all these transfers and recruits that they bring in all season long. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think besides Paige Becker's, obviously she wasn't 100%. I think we're all leaning towards that, like you mentioned. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed, especially in that championship game. I was disappointed to see AZ Fudd. Of course, she had that illness. Caroline didn't really get that many minutes. And you know, the seniors, the three seniors didn't really play all that great as well. So it was really a kind of a sour taste that kind of some of the players didn't really step up like they needed to during down the stretch there at the March Madness.
And the last one, Austin says last one. Then we had to say goodbye. Marlena, I'm not going to say her last name, Ryan. I might mess up too much on that. Marlena goes, love watching these videos. Starting lineup for me, I'd have to go with Ducharme over Nika because during the 21-22 season, Gino had Avina coming off the bench, not because she wasn't top five, but because she brought that energy in the game when nobody else could. I think Nika could definitely do that for the UConn team next year. Thank you, Marlena.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nika Mule brings a ton of energy. But I mean, I think off the bench, even if she's starting or she comes off the bench, I think she can just bring the energy anytime for the UConn Huskies team. And I said it before, especially on the defensive side of things, Nika Mule, she usually doesn't score that often, doesn't take that many shots, but she's a good passer, good rebounder, and she plays really good defense, which is something the UConn Huskies, I think it needs to be their main focus all the time because like I said, all last season, their defense most of the time leads to their offense.
And Ryan, this has been a presentation of Dempsey's Sportsland in Middletown, Maryland. Again, check back this week, guys, and we'll bring you the number 4 best moment of the year this past season for the UConn women's basketball team. But for now, it's Ryan Renner and Phil Becerra. Ryan, checking out.